I found this series of wrist yoga, if you will, a few years back, and it's a lovely young girl on YouTube, and I have adopted these stretches to help keep my wrists intact and working. Even as we get older and we keep our wrists healthy and this, that, and the other, we still put so much wear and tear on them. My wrists are quite delicate, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do big dogs for a long period of time. I do what I can, and when they're pulling and if they fight it at all, I have somebody help me hold their leg so they're not constantly yanking against that delicate area on my hand. If they're cooperative, it doesn't matter, but just an overly enthusiastic dog that's just trying to get its paw out of your hand really puts wear and tear on that area. So you want to really protect that, and if you aren't able to do those big dogs anymore, I think that you should really think about either delegating them to one of your other groomers, or maybe cutting back on your on the dogs that you take, and really being judicious about the dogs that pull and put wear and tear on your body. So stay tuned for wrist stretches for groomers. Hello, and welcome to Yoga for the Pleasingly Plump Pet Groomer. Today we're going to do some stretches for our wrists and hands. And this is also a prelude and build up and a strengthening and stretching out of the wrists so that we can continue on and do regular poses. So a lot of us fail to stretch out our wrists on a regular basis while we're working, before, after. You always want to warm up your wrists and then stretch them out after a really long day of grooming. There are certain tabletop positions that we will explore at a later date. But these are some things that you can do to really stretch those out. Stretch out the little fine muscles you get by scissoring in a little tiny area. We're always like this. So, I'm going to be here. Now you can do cross-legged. If your hips aren't what they are, maybe you're having a really tough time because they're sore that day or for whatever reason. You can also just put them at an easy angle out. Kind of stretch forward a little bit so that you can then seat yourself on your sit bones. You want to stretch out your upper back a little bit so that you can be tucked in, straight up, chin up, shoulders down. This is a neutral position for your spine, so it will really help you get the right and correct stretch. You're not really putting strain on anything. So the first exercise we're going to do is we're going to extend our hands up and stretch. And then we're going to make fists and then open our hands as wide as we can. And then we're going to repeat that motion and go just a little bit past our comfort zone. So we're going to do maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And we're just going to do this with purpose. So I'm starting to feel it a lot in all my hands. It's starting to fatigue a little bit. So I want to go just a little bit. She's stepping on my remote control. She knew it was under there. We're going to just relax back down again and put our hands on our heart. Rest. Feel the stretches that we just put our fingers through. Now we're going to clasp our hands together. We're going to weave them around. Only go as far as that you're comfortable with. If something is painful at a certain point, just gently work through it. Don't try to push your wrist past their point. This is to relax them and stretch them out. It's not to put more stress on them. Put your hands on your heart. And breathe. You're going to take them up again. And then we're going to switch them back and forth. You kind of want to isolate just the hands. So if you feel like you're moving your elbows a lot, try and isolate just the wrist motion. Your elbows may move a little bit. We're just warming up that wrist, stretching out those muscles. Bring them down, hands on your heart, and breathe. Now we're going to be in a prayer. We're going to turn our fingers down. If you're not able to do this, go as far as you're comfortable with. I'm pretty good in this position. There are other positions I'm not so good in, but we're all trying to stretch out and be the best that we can. So don't take it personally or hard that you can't do a certain motion in any type of yoga. It's all what your particular body can do on any given day. So we're just going to sit here. We're going to pray and offer it to the world. Pray and offer it to the world. Put our hands on our heart and breathe. Now we're going to do something that seems a little scary. It's a finger stretch. You'll find that through this series, you're going to see my arm sometimes go out of joint. I have a weird double jointed elbow, so I have to be really conscious of not doing this and making my arm do the correct thing so that I get the right stretch in my ligaments. Some of us just have an overly stretched out joint, and then some can't extend all the way for whatever reason. You know, things that we've done in our life, injuries we've had, no worries. Go as far as you can, and that's fine. As long as it's comfortable and it's a nice, healthy stretch, you're gonna do just fine. Hi, Edie. All right, so now we're gonna hold our hands out, and whichever one you wanna start with. I'm left-handed, so I usually start with my right. You're gonna offer your hand out. You're gonna take your hand and you're just gonna start stretching your fingers back. This looks really terrible, but once you start doing it, you'll find that you have a better range of motion than you thought. For your thumb, you're going to make your back of your hands touch, and you're going to come up underneath, and you're just going to move your thumb to whatever way it's pointing, and you're going to point it kind of towards your forearm in a comfortable motion to stretch out that ligament that we use every day, all day. If it's a little painful at first, don't test it to its limit. Simply go to it until it's comfortable and breathe. Give that muscle some oxygen to work with while it's being stretched out. Cover your heart. Breathe in. Now we're going to do the other hand. Now you'll not only get a nice stretch through the palm of your hand, but you should also be feeling it. It's stretching out this tendon and ligament here in your arm. And again, we're going to make the back of our hands touch. We're going to grab hold of our thumb and pull it out and toward our forearm. Really get a nice stretch in that muscle right there in the thumb. I'm really bad about when I feel any kind of pain. My shoulders come up and I start to try and counteract the pain. I move my shoulders up for some reason. So I'm always making a conscious effort to make sure my neck has freedom of movement and my shoulders are down as much as possible away from the ear. And release, hands over the heart, and breathe. Now we're going to open up our arms. We're going to put our thumbs in our palms and cover it with every single finger. We're holding onto our thumbs. And then we're going to make a pouring motion. It's like you're pouring a pitcher sideways. You'll feel a really weird stretch through your wrist and through the top of your arm that attaches to your wrist. But really, you're stretching that ligament out that's just been far too stiff for far too long. It's an overworked ligament. And release. Open up your hands. Put them on your heart. And breathe. We're going to extend out the arms again. Now we're going to close our fist, but put our thumb over our fingers. And then we're just going to point our fist to the floor, stretch out the top of those wrists. Now you can pulse it slowly, or you can get into where it's comfortable for you and then push yourself to where you feel comfortable to get that stretch. Sometimes I'll hold it for just a few seconds, I'll relieve it a little bit, and then pulse down again very slowly. But if you like having just one motion and keeping it there, that's perfectly fine. And release, open your hands, and breathe. Okay, now we're going to do something that will look really crazy, but it gets a good stretch through the forearms. come up in table pose. Spread your hands out. For those of you who have really bad wrist pain, after a period of time, this really doesn't take that long. So, sometimes you can't go all the way around. My wrists are pretty good, and I've been doing this for a while, and I do have the ability to stretch my elbows out in a weird way. So I can put my hands all the way around. If you can't do that, just go to the side and give your forearms a really good stretch that way. But my wrists are pretty good, so I'm going to do the extreme version. Then I'm going to slowly come back to get a deeper stretch. If you can't do this, do not try it. We are, after all, very delicate in the wrist area. If you just have to even do a little bit to get that stretch in your forearm, that's perfectly fine. We're going to sit back on our heels. Hands over your heart. And breathe. We're going to try and stretch out the top of the arm. Going to get on the table position. This is really weird looking. It's scary. Now, some of us, our wrists are very delicate, so you can brace yourself with this hand and just get a stretch one at a time. There are some that have strong wrists and they can put their hands like this at the same time. I'm not able to do that yet, so I'm just going to do this and then bend a little bit and get my stretch that way while still supporting my body weight with my other hand. I'm going to switch to the other side. All right. So those are stretches you can use to stretch your wrist out that will actually open up the wrist and keep it looser so that you can do your work. Now the first few times that you do those stretches, you're really going to feel it the next day. So whatever day you have off, if you get a day off, you're going to want to do that at the end of that last day so that you have a whole day to recover. The stronger you get and the more stretched out and flexible your wrists become, you'll be able to do them for more days of the week. And I do recommend warming up your wrists before work every day and then stretching them out when you're all done. This is just health for your wrists. We have so many wrist injuries in our profession. So we want to keep these wrists nice and supple so that we can move our hands, we can move our wrists, and they give us many, many years of service.